Hi. Okay, my name is Carrie Kojal, and I am a silver leader with doTERRA. And before we dive in, I just want to share a little bit about who I am, my family, and my background, and what I believe when it comes to my business. So, I am a mom first, which means my family is everything to me, and it's really where my business story begins. I actually spent 4 years in a direct sales company prior to doTERRA. And if I'm being honest with you, that was my fourth direct sales company. But every single one was a part of my journey of learning and growing. I am a self learner. I am self driven. And I pour my heart into learning to help myself grow. So, along the way, I've done extensive training on mindset, how people think. And the more I've learned, I have realized that this business at its core is not about sales, it is about people. And I have chosen to run my business from a place that I call love led. It's from a coach, a mentor that I follow named Bob Heilig. And I'll talk about him more as we go on. But he puts people first and sales second. And I want to pause here and tell you something really important. When you are seeing people online, the people that you're like, they are crushing it, right? I post and I get crickets. I post, I get no engagement. Look at these people. They're crushing it. And you try to start copying them, right? What you need to understand is that their sales, their experience did not happen overnight. Okay. And comparison is the quickest way to stall your own growth. So the truth is, if you have a willingness to learn and keep showing up, this business can be incredibly promising for you. So let's dive in. Okay, so we're going to start with something that will completely change the way you think about social media. All right. We share in our content, we sell in our conversations. So take a second, jot that down. I promise you, you need to save this thought. All right. So your posts, your reels, your stories, they are a vehicle. All right. They are what gets people to stop scrolling, relate, and think, wow, she gets me, right? But the real magic actually happens in your conversations. That's where trust is built. That's where questions can be answered. And that's where somebody actually decides to take the next step with you. Okay. So while today we're going to be focusing on social media posts, content, you have to understand that that is the necessary next step if you want to make progress here. All right. So don't stress about creating perfect content or trying to sell in every post. Your content is simply there to spark curiosity, emotion, connection. It's like that invitation. And once somebody resonates with you, that is your chance to connect personally. You're going to pull it into personal messages and you're going to show them how you can help. So remember, we share in our content, we sell in our conversations, and that is going to guide everything that you do from here on out moving forward. Okay. Now, before we dive into the actual depth of this training, it's important for you to understand the shift that has happened in marketing. So, back in my previous company, I kid you not, I literally had a 5 to 7 day Facebook party script where I had over 20 posts of different products, right? And I actually were bulleting all of the different features of the product. Like, here's the product, here's every single thing that this product can do to you, right? And it worked and people bought. But thinking about that now, it actually makes me cringe. And here's the thing. So, whether you are new to this space or if you've been here for a while, you have to understand that marketing today cannot be about features alone. Okay. Today we need to lead. So if you're leading with products, examples, talking about everything that makes our collagen so great, I promise you it will not work. It might work in your beginning. It might work when you have your hottest leads because they know you that well, but it will not work sustainably for a long time. Okay. People scroll right past it because what it actually does is it triggers sales resistance in people. It tells them, like, ew, she's just trying to sell me something. She doesn't actually care about me. She's not taking any time to figure out my problems. She's just telling me about her products. And they will scroll right past. I promise you that. Okay. So today in marketing, what matters is actually speaking to people's struggles, their emotions, their real life experiences. People buy based on emotion. Okay. Um, like, I'm in the same boat that she's describing in that post. If this worked for her, maybe it can work for me too. But that only happens when you actually allow yourself to connect emotionally. And that's what we're going to be talking about next. We're going to talk about identifying your dream customer. Okay, so this next step is crucial and I cannot stress it enough. You have to get clear on who your dream customer is. Who are they, right? They are the exact version of you before you started on this journey. the person who was struggling, they were overwhelmed, they were searching for something better, right? And I know what you might be thinking. You're probably thinking, but Carrie, I want to sell to everybody. I don't want to limit it to just people like me. I don't want to limit it to just moms of young kids or whatever. I want to sell to everybody. I want to sell to 80-year-olds and 20-year-olds, right? And yes, you are going to sell to all people, but you are going to speak to one person. People that try to sell to everybody and make their post so generic, nobody's going to see themselves in your post. Okay? If you try to sell to everybody, you speak, or as you try to speak to everybody, you actually speak to no one. People buy based on emotion, not hype. They need to feel seen, understood. They have to feel like you get them. And that can only be done by being able to describe exactly what that person is going through. The easy part is you lived it. You were there, right? So describing it becomes a whole lot easier because you can put yourself in that person's shoes. I don't care if it's now or 10 years from now. I'm going to remember where I was at and the struggle that I was in when I started here. And so I am always speaking to that person. It's how you create connection and it's how conversations get started. So, this is why I actually want you to take the time to answer the questions on this slide. Do not skip this part. If you want to pause the video for a few minutes to write it down, put it in a Google Doc, whatever works for you, the more you elaborate here, the more you will know exactly who you are speaking to and be able to relive your own experiences. And this is very, very important. I just did it myself again recently. It's life changing when you realize that. Okay. So until you know exactly who you're speaking to, you can't authentically paint a picture of somebody who understands their struggles, right? I can't pretend to understand what a mom of young kids is going through if I don't take the time to do that. And then you're not going to be able to create the conversations that have real impact. For me, even though my customers range from their 20s to their 80s, I speak to the mom of young kids that's juggling it all. That's the person that I'm holding in mind for every single post that I write, every caption, every conversation, and that clarity is going to change everything. Okay, so here's an example of what my dream customer looks like. This is literally me just a year ago, exhausted, burned out, wondering if things would ever change. She's the mom who gets praised for doing it all. Like, Carrie, I don't know how you juggle all of that, but inside she's running on caffeine, scraps of her kids' food, and pure willpower. She wants something for herself, something that makes her feel alive again, but she doesn't know where to begin. So why am I showing you this? Because I really want you to dial in on your dream customer. It changes everything about your content. You're no longer posting just for the sake of posting and trying to make a sale. You're speaking to someone who gets you, someone who feels seen and who knows that you are not just here to make a sale, you're actually here to help. And this clarity shows up in your captions, in your stories, in your posts. It is the first step in creating conversations that actually make a difference. Okay, so whether you're brand new to marketing or you've been in this space for a while, it's important to understand the shift that's happening in marketing. Okay, the old way, which I mentioned, we would talk about all the features, the benefits, all the reasons that somebody should buy, essentially vomiting information in hopes of making a sale, right? All of these posts were to get. I've done it, and I know many others are actually still doing this. Okay, and I will tell you, it worked until it didn't. And here's the shift that's happened. So, a network marketing coach that I follow, his name is Bob Heilig. It's where I got the whole love led concept. He is who I've done so much extensive training with. He coined product posts with the name possibility post because it leads with empathy. So instead of starting with the product, we start with the person and their struggles. Remember the dream customer. We paint a picture that says, I get it and I see what you're going through. And that connection sparks curiosity and hope, and it removes the pressure to buy and shifts the mindset from I'm being sold to maybe this could actually help me. Okay, so this approach is powerful because it changes the conversation. People stop scrolling because they feel seen and understood, not because of hype, not because here's the latest sale, you should get this, look at this product promotion, and they begin to have real trust and belief can begin to grow. So let's take a look at how the two look different. Okay, so if we look at the old way of posting and the possibility post method, I know it's probably relatively hard to see, but you can pause, you can take a screenshot. But my old post on the surface, it looks good. And I will actually tell you that this post is better than what I was doing previously, right? So this at least focuses on problem and solution. You'll see those things in there. You'll see it bulleted, right? So it's not just like, here's the product. It's not throwing product in your face, but it's problem solution. I'm excited. I'm sharing results. I'm giving details. I'm even inviting people to comment if they want information. That's what I thought I was supposed to do. Okay. Share the features, highlight the benefits, show the proof. But here's the problem: the intention behind this post is to get, right? I'm hoping to get sales, to get customers. And it comes across looking like a sales commercial, honestly. So while some people may respond, others are just going to keep scrolling because it feels like I'm selling to them. Remember, triggering that sales resistance. Now let's look at the possibility post version. Look at the difference. So instead of starting with the product, I start with the person. I speak directly to her life, her exhaustion, the chaos of school drop offs, the foggy brain, the overwhelm. She reads it and thinks, wow, she gets me, right? And this creates connection first. Then I gently offer hope, right? Possibility. Here's what your life could look like. You don't have to stay stuck here. I introduce the product as a possible solution, not the headline. Okay. And I paint the picture of what life could look like, how it could look different with this product, having energy, feeling present, enjoying her kids instead of just surviving. So the shift is the old post was about me, my husband, our results. The new post is about the reader and what's possible for her life. That's the power of a possibility post. And it changes the energy from trying to get to make a sale, to get a customer, to trying to actually give hope and create curiosity for something better. All right. So let's break this down so that you really understand how to create a possibility post that actually works. So step 1, you have to take the time to answer the right questions, all right? They're on the screen here. You can save it, you can screenshot it, but you're going to ask yourself, who is my dream customer? And you should have already written that previously. So you should have that somewhere handy. What are they struggling with? What do they really long for? So identify one problem there, one problem that they are struggling with, okay? Do not try to do too many things at once. What would life look like if that struggle was resolved? Remember, the more detail you give, the better. So imagine, what are her mornings like, her stress, her hopes. The more you make her feel seen, the more you build trust and authority as somebody that can help her. And trust, that is what makes people stop scrolling. Okay. Step 2, you're going to map it onto the possibility post structure. So it's gonna follow struggle, hope, possibility, and then a gentle invitation. And if you go back to my previous slide, you will see that. You'll see how it's structured into 4 paragraphs like that. Um, so it shows hope for the product, the solution, paint the emotional outcome. Remember what I said, people buy based on emotion, and then offer a soft, permission based invitation to connect with me. Okay. And this is where AI can actually be very helpful here. Okay. It can be a powerful tool if used correctly. It can remember your dream customer. You can prompt it to ask you these questions, and then you can actually have it structure the post in the voice that you want it to have. So it's like having a guide that keeps your messaging consistent and your posts clear. But you have to teach it. You have to tell it your dream customer. It has to know how you like to speak things, and you have to be willing to tweak. Um, and finally, I have to tell you this because if you want to go deeper into this approach, again, you cannot possibly scratch the surface of all of this in 10 minutes. But if you are somebody who likes to lead with heart and service and giving up that hustle mindset, that feeling like I'm trying to get, like I'm being salesy, right? Like the classic stigma associated with network marketing, highly recommend that you follow Bob Heilig, Heilig. If you search for your virtual upline community on Facebook, you will find his group, his community. He is gold. He is an absolute genius when it comes to this. Okay, so I also want you to remember and have an understanding that product or possibility posts are just one type of content. Okay, there are other types of content that you should be putting up, but again, that requires more time and more diving into the learning. Bob Heilig is a great, great resource for that. All right. If you are self-driven, if you are a self-learner, go over, check him out, and you can find things to help you there. Because you certainly want to be mixing up your content and not putting up possibility posts every day. Okay. Those should be like a once a week thing. But I also need to remind you what we talked about at the very beginning. Okay, conversations are far more important than your content. So, your posts, your reels, your stories, they are the vehicle to get people to stop scrolling, relate, and think, wow, she gets me. But the sales happen in the conversations that follow. So, you might be thinking, okay, but how do I actually get sales? So, here's where you have to take the wheel. You have to be willing to take the wheel. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to be hard. It's going to be uncomfortable. You're going to feel awkward. You're going to feel like this is weird. But anybody that likes, loves, or comments on your posts gets a personal message from you. All right. And I know this. I know you are going to sit down and you're going to be like, oh, Carrie told me I should do this, but this feels weird. All they did was like my content. But what you need to understand is that if they took the time to like your content, people's time is valuable. I will tell you, I don't like a lot of things as I go through and I'm scrolling, but if there's something that I do like and I take the time to do that, you can bet that it resonated with me. So if you do not take the time to message those people, you are basically leaving money and potential new customers on the table. All right. So work through the hard, be willing to get uncomfortable because that is where growth is going to happen. All right. So, how? I'm going to give you two simple scripts. They're on the screen here for you to see. But the first one is just you're going to reach out and you're going to say, hey, put their name in there. Thank you so much for liking, loving, or commenting on my post about energy, right? Can I ask, has this been a struggle for you? That's it. And then you're going to let it lead into conversation. Your goal is ultimately going to be to find out their problem. What are they struggling with? Because you cannot make an offer. You can't invite them to a class. You can't invite them to try your products if you don't have a true understanding of what they're struggling with, because otherwise you're going to go right back to feeling like you're selling to them. All right, take the time. Conversations can bring you beautiful sales if you do this. Okay, another option would be, hey Susie, thanks so much for liking my post about energy. Can I ask, what are you doing in this area right now? Right, she might say, well, I'm drinking coffee every day. Okay, all right, how's that working for you? Do you feel like it's working, or do you feel like you're still hitting that afternoon crash? Oh, I'm definitely hitting the afternoon crash. Okay. Have you tried anything else? Right? So you're just asking more questions. Ask, ask, ask. Be willing to dive deeper with people so that you can get a good handle on their problem. And then you simply say something like, is this something that you would like some support with? Okay. That's how you're going to then get to the next step. But take that time and get uncomfortable. It is not going to feel good the first few times you do it. You're going to have resistance. You're going to think, no, I'm only going to reach out to them if they commented, right? Don't do that. If they took the time to like or love, they had an interest in what you put up there. They resonated with what you put up there. And they won't all lead to sales, but you are going to have genuine conversations with people that make them feel like you truly care and you truly believe. And so then down the road, when you're posting more content, they're still going to be listening and they're still going to be following in. And here's another thing that you should know: when you reach out to people in a message, okay? Facebook is becoming very smart. Instagram is very smart. You reach out to them in a message and it signals the algorithm to say, hey, these two are interacting. Start showing her content to her. All right. So then your following posts, as you're posting more, it's going to show up in her newsfeed. So even if she's not ready yet, that could be somebody that's ready down the road. Okay. But make sure whatever you're doing with your posts, you tie it back to a conversation after. Be consistent, be genuine, and you will naturally see the sales start to come in. All right. So, this is just an overview. Take the time, go back, answer the questions, play around with it, consider bringing AI into it. There is so much that you can do here. This is just a beginning stepping stone. Hope that helped.